Okay. Good afternoon. I would like to call the bring to order the meeting of the Academic and Student Life Committee. We have a full agenda and limited time this afternoon, so we're going to move pretty quickly through our agenda items to preserve time for discussion. We're going to hear from the Interim Executive Vice President and Provost Bree Gertler on matters of current interest. We have two discussion items, the first involving a Darden student and an undergraduate student, and the second an update on research. So I just wanted to say quickly that I'm very honored to serve as the chair of the Academic and Student Life Committee. I think all of you know that I have a current law student and a current undergraduate student. So I am very invested in student life. I have to hear about it all the time, regardless. So I love talking to students. The event we had last night with the students that live on the lawn is always one of my favorites because I love hearing about the opportunities that they have and the wonderful things that they're doing. So, you know, I really am excited to serve as the chair of this committee. Okay, let's get things started. I'm going to turn it over to Provost Gertler and let her present the consent agenda and action items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the chair mentioned, we have a full agenda and we'll try to move quickly so that there's time for discussion. I will present the consent and action items and ask for your approval at the end, and I'm of course glad to take questions. We begin with the consent agenda item related to the closure of an off-campus instructional site in McLean, Virginia. McIntire School's MS in the Management of Information Technology program has been relocated from Valo Park in McLean to the UVA Darden Sands Family Grounds in Arlington, and we will no longer be using the leased site in McLean. SCHEV now requires these matters to be brought to the board for approval. There are no changes to the program as a result of this location change. The new site serves the same geographic area. We will now move to the action items. We have 5 endowed professorship establishments and 1 change of name and purpose of a previously established professorship. We also have a commending resolution. I think I'm going in the wrong direction. There we go. Thank you. The first action item establishes 2 professorships in the School of Medicine. Jack P. Chambers, a 1963 graduate of the School of Law, was grateful for the care that he and his family received at UVA Health. Mr. Chambers supported medical research during his lifetime and made provisions in his estate to endow professorships in hepatology and surgery. The surgery chair carries his name, and the hepatology chair is named for his brother, Joseph R. Chambers, who died last year. The next professorship is the Pausic Family Jefferson Scholars Foundation Distinguished Professorship in Operations Research and Financial Engineering. Mr. Pausic is a 1986 graduate of the School of Engineering and Applied Science and a dedicated volunteer who served on the UVA Health Foundation Board, as well as the boards of directors of the Virginia Engineering Foundation and the Jefferson Scholars Foundation. He was the co-chair of the Jefferson Scholars Foundation's Honor the Future campaign. Mr. Pausic's wife, Kelly McDougall, has also been a volunteer at UVA, serving 2 terms on the UVA Health Foundation Board of Trustees. They have raised their 3 children in Charlottesville. Their daughter, Kate, is a 2024 graduate of the McIntire School of Commerce. Mr. Pausic and Ms. McDougall have generously supported several areas of the university. Their gift for this professorship will help the School of Engineering and Applied Science recruit a world-class scholar to the Department of Systems and Information Engineering. The next professorship before you is the Jefferson Scholars Foundation Distinguished Professorship in Political Economy, Law, and Democracy. This chair was funded through a collaboration between Christopher Lanning and members of the boards of the Jefferson Scholars Foundation and the College Foundation. Mr. Lanning graduated from the college in 1991 with an economics degree and went on to graduate from the School of Law in 1995. The chair will help the College and Graduate School of Arts and Sciences recruit a world-class scholar who will enrich the academic and civic life of the university. The fifth and final professorship before you is also in arts and sciences. It was founded with a gift from the William R. Keenan Jr. Professor Emeritus of Classics, John Mikalson, who retired in 2017 after 47 years on the faculty. And I have to say, this one is particularly close to my heart, to have a retired faculty member give a gift to ensure that their department will continue to have junior scholars in the department is, I think, particularly moving. Mr. Mikalson is an expert in ancient Greek religion. He served as chair of the Department of Classics from 1978 until 1990, and later served as director of the Eccles Scholars Program. He's received accolades for his teaching and his scholarship. Mr. Mikalson provided this gift to support the junior ranks of the professoriate in arts and sciences. While endowed chairs for assistant professors are not common, they are not unprecedented. There are several professorships in arts and sciences and in the School of Medicine that were created to support emerging scholars, including professorships in the history and principles of democracy for tenure-track assistant professors that were supported by Mr. Now. Our last professorship resolution before you this afternoon changes the name and purpose of a previously established professorship. David and Kathleen LaCross are among the university's most generous supporters. Mr. LaCross is a graduate of the McIntire School of Commerce and the Darden School. Mrs. LaCross is an arts and sciences graduate. Over the last few years, Mr. and Mrs. LaCross have made transformational commitments to the Darden School that exceed $100 million with matching funds. In March 2021, the board established the David M. LaCross Professorship to support a distinguished scholar in quantitative analysis or finance at the Darden School of Business. Mr. and Mrs. LaCross have since amended and increased the related gift to change the name and purpose of the associated fund, which will now instead be used to create and support a deanship for the Dean of the Darden School, to be known as the David M. LaCross Dean's Chair of the UVA Darden School of Business. Our final action item today is a commending resolution for Dean of Libraries and University Librarian John M. Unsworth, who will retire next week. John Unsworth earned his PhD in English from the university, and he served on the faculty here from 1993 until 2003. He was the first director of the university's Institute for Advanced Technology in the Humanities. Between 2003 and 2016, John held leadership and faculty roles at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and Brandeis University. He returned to UVA in 2016 as Dean of the Libraries. In that role, he led the library through numerous changes, including a major design and construction project that substantially upgraded library facilities for the benefit of the entire university community. And I have to say that John was masterful and incredibly diplomatic in the design for the renovation of the library. There were people on grounds who were very opposed to removing some of the books to make room for additional spaces for students to study. And there was a very spirited discussion about whether to do that and how to do that. And John really navigated that well. And my sense is that everyone is happy with where we landed. And if you have not toured the new Shannon Library, please do. As a pioneer in digital humanities and an early adopter of evolving technologies for libraries, John has been the champion of several important collaborations with partners both on and off grounds. He established the very first peer-reviewed online humanities journal, and he brought together here at UVA the Scholars Lab and the Institute for Advanced Technology in the Humanities to form the library's Digital Humanities Center. He also led the creation of a service that allows staff in colleges and universities across the country to share print materials that have been made accessible for students with print disabilities, reducing costs and enabling faster service to students in need. John is a beloved member of the university community, and we will miss his daily presence on grounds. Madam Chair, I recommend these 7 resolutions for the board's approval.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. We are grateful to the donors who have generously supported endowed chairs, Mr. Chambers, Mr. Pausic, and Ms. McDougall, Mr. Lanning, and members of the College Foundation and Jefferson Scholars Foundation boards, Mr. Mikalson, and Mr. and Mrs. LaCross. We are also grateful to John Unsworth for his dedicated service to the university as the Dean of Libraries and the University Librarian, and we wish him well in his retirement. Madam Provost, it is time for your remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have had the privilege of serving as interim provost for just over 6 months now. And as we all know, this has been an unusually eventful several months for the university. I want to take a moment before I move on to my other remarks to thank my fellow leaders, current leaders and new leaders for their partnership in this time. I also want to take a moment to thank the 12 deans of our 12 schools. The partnership of the academic deans has been invaluable in this time of transition, and they are genuine champions for their schools, for their faculty, for their students, for their staff, and more broadly for the university and advocates for the university. We have an extraordinary set of deans leading our schools right now, and we are very lucky to have them, and I am grateful to them for their partnership. The academic year is underway, and of course, we remain focused on our teaching, research, service, and clinical care missions. In mid-August, we held an orientation program for about 300 faculty members who have joined the UVA community since last summer. Almost 3 weeks ago, Interim President Mahoney and I welcomed nearly 5,000 new transfer and first-year students at opening convocation, which unfortunately took place in JPJ Arena, so the ice cream social afterwards did not have quite the same feeling as it would had we been on grounds, but the weather showed that we made the right decision in moving it to JPJ. The grounds are now bustling with activity. I want to give you a quick update on a topic that has been at the center of discussion in this room at these meetings for some years now, and that is undergraduate advising in the college. Dean Akampora has come to talk with the board twice in the last 2 years about work underway to improve advising. I'm pleased to share the news that in a survey of nearly 1,900 first-year students at the end of the spring semester, 84% of respondents were satisfied with their pre-major advising experience. This is a significant increase in satisfaction since the 2022 CIRU survey, when just 55% of students expressed satisfaction with pre-major advising. Of the first-year college students that are assigned to the college's new advising fellows, 89% were satisfied with their advising experience. These advising fellows serve as students' primary guides through their first academic year. Almost all first-year students will be advised by their engagement instructors this academic year, and that excludes ECHL scholars and of course, students studying abroad. There are now 26 advising fellows in arts and sciences, advising 2/3 of the first-year class. The remaining third are advised by trained faculty advisors. Both advising fellows and faculty advisors receive substantial training and ongoing professional development to ensure that they have the tools and information they need to advise students. I want to congratulate Dean Akampora and everyone in the college who's worked hard to improve this vitally important pre-major advising experience. In other good news from arts and sciences, you may have read that economics professor Anton Koronek was recently named to Time's 3rd annual list of the 100 most influential people in artificial intelligence. Professor Koronek is also affiliated with the Darden School. He is one of the leading figures exploring the rapidly evolving economic impact of artificial intelligence on the world and the challenges inherent in harnessing its potential, while also preparing for the risks that it may pose. Also related to AI, but in a somewhat different way, English professor Bruce Holsinger recently published a novel exploring the notion of responsibility and accountability in the age of AI. This novel is called Culpability, and it was chosen by Oprah to be on her book list, for Oprah's book club. And I actually just finished reading it, and I recommend it. It centers on a car crash that happens when a car is in self-driving mode and there is a teenager at the wheel not paying enough attention, and his parents are in the car not paying enough attention to him, not paying enough attention to the driving. And so it raises some really interesting questions about responsibility and accountability, including to what extent is the algorithm in the self-driving car accountable for the crash? AI means many different things across grounds. To have a look at some of the many AI-related initiatives at the university, please visit the page called AI at UVA. This is sort of an umbrella page. I get to it by Googling AI at UVA, but the URL is ai.provost.virginia.edu, and that collects work on AI both in research and in teaching across grounds. We'll continue to add to the site as we learn more about AI-related work underway in our schools and units. Some of you will recall that we had a task force on AI in teaching and learning in 2023. Growing out of that work, we created an online course for faculty and graduate instructors to learn more about the use of AI in the classroom. And we created a program that we called the Faculty AI Guides. Through the Guides program, we trained more than 50 faculty members across 10 schools who now serve as resources for their colleagues. We're continuing the Guides program this year. Last month, I had a great discussion about AI with the academic deans at our annual Deans Retreat. We talked about how we can work together to ensure that our pedagogical methods continue to be effective in a world with AI, and that our curricula equip our students to enter a world where AI is ubiquitous. We also talked about academic integrity as it relates to the use of AI. Following that discussion, my office is now developing a plan for a standing committee that can help us to think through, on an ongoing basis, how we ensure that our students understand how to use AI effectively in their disciplines and their future professions, and ensure that they understand its limits and the ethical and legal dimensions of this technology. In short, we want our students to graduate being AI literate and AI fluent. As you heard earlier, John Unsworth is retiring next week. We will be joined by the new University Librarian and Dean of Libraries, Leo Lowe. Leo has a special interest in AI, and he will serve in an informal role as my special advisor on AI literacy. He has a new book coming out called AI and the Future Workforce, a reskilling guide for American libraries. Mr. Lowe is committed to preparing universities for the future of AI. For this and many other reasons, I'm really looking forward to working with him. AI is already here. As an institution that has been forward-looking since its founding, we need to make sure that our students know how to use AI effectively, appropriately, and ethically. We need to use it to enhance learning, and we need to be leaders in the research about how AI will influence a wide variety of aspects of life. Speaking of research, you will hear from Lori McMahon shortly. I wanted to take just a moment to preview this now. Research is, of course, at the core of our mission, and the rapidly evolving federal landscape has a substantial impact on UVA research. Lori will share more details, but I wanted to mention this now because it's such an important part of who we are as a first-rate university. Since early this year, a group of colleagues from across the university have met frequently. We now meet once a week. We have a second meeting, a second time held in case something evolves and we need to meet a second time, to figure out how to prepare for and respond to changes coming from the federal level. These changes affect research, student financial aid, international students and faculty and staff, and our healthcare system. I am continually impressed by my colleagues. We've faced serious challenges, and I have seen partnerships grow stronger across the university as we work to address them together. And I will stop there, Madam Chair, and turn it back over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Provost Gertler. Are there any questions from the committee? Yes.
Not only committee, but I do have a question.
You can ask a question.
Okay. So I toured with Greg Fairchild earlier in the year, his innovation drive campus.
UVA Northern Virginia?
Yeah. At some point, and maybe this isn't the meeting, maybe for next time, could we sort of hear more about what, I was a little confused. I like him a lot. I thought he's a talented guy, but it was kind of confusing. I'd love to hear more about sort of what their goal is and how you view them.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And I think we're going to also leave some time at the end to gather ideas for agenda items and questions that we can respond to in the future, but that's a great one. Yep.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, then Madam Provost, will you please introduce our first discussion item?
Happy to. Thank you, Madam Chair. Our first discussion item this afternoon is a continuation of conversations with the board from the spring. Last year, the Karsh Institute of Democracy led a collaborative effort to create what was then called the Student Dialogue Fellowship. This program has now been renamed the Civic Cornerstone Fellowship. It's designed to engage undergraduate and graduate students who represent a range of views and experiences in a series of monthly conversations. Nearly 300 students participated last year. We have here with us today 2 students who participated in the program to talk about their experiences, Ross Williams and Ariana McGurk. Before we hear from the students, Stephanie Georgakis Abbott, Director of Programming for the Karsh Institute, will share a brief overview of the program. Professor Rachel Wall is also here to answer questions. Professor Wall is an associate professor in the School of Education and Human Development and director of the Karsh Institute's Good Life Political Project. The Civic Cornerstone Fellowship Program is informed by Professor Wall's research. I will turn it over to Stephanie to get us started. Stephanie?
Thank you, Provost Gertler. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. It's really an honor to be here and share a bit about the Karsh Institute Civic Cornerstone Fellowship, a program of which we're really proud. We launched the program in 2024 in partnership with 7 centers, units, and schools across grounds. The fellowship helps students build dialogue skills, cultivate intellectual humility and curiosity, and practice self-regulation techniques that enable them to lean into difficult conversations and have them productively. Its distinctive focus on viewpoint diversity creates a space for students to listen, learn from one another, and engage constructively. Originally created as a small pilot program, it quickly became one of the Karsh Institute's signature initiatives. In its first year, it exceeded our expectations, and we had over 300 participants. We were expecting a few dozen. This year, participation has grown to 400 students, representing all 12 schools here at UVA. I think this reflects the program's impact and reach. The scalable program format means that we can accommodate every single student who wants to participate without sacrificing the depth of engagement. We intentionally recruit students from across grounds, working closely with our partners and student organizations to ensure a wide range of perspectives and backgrounds are represented at every table. Fellows are then placed into intentional cohorts and groups of 10 that span ideology, background, academic discipline, and year. Over the course of a semester, these groups will meet every 4 weeks over a shared meal, and they practice and strengthen their skills for engaging across difference. The first year results were striking. As you can see, 100% of participants would recommend the program to others, and 86% reported an improved ability to navigate differences. Nearly 50 students who participated last year have joined again this year, with strong demand, which now means that the program will happen every semester. Building on these early successes, we were recently awarded an $800,000 grant from Wake Forest University's Educating Character Initiative to support this work over the next 3 years. This funding will allow us to deepen the work here at UVA and expand the program to new campuses across the country, starting with UVA-wise next semester. This grant also supports Professor Wall's ongoing research on the model, ensuring continuous evidence-based improvements in program design. To close, the Civic Cornerstone Fellowship helps students engage with different perspectives with curiosity and cultivate intellectual humility while generating rigorous evidence-based research on dialogue programming. It offers a scalable model for fostering viewpoint diversity and civic dialogue within higher education more broadly. I'm really pleased to be joined today by 2 of our fellows from last year, and they'll now share a little bit about their experiences with the program. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here today. I know Ross and I are really excited to share a little bit more about our experience with the Civic Cornerstone Fellowship. My name is Ariana McGurk. Most people know me as Ari. I'm a second-year Jefferson scholar in the college. I'm studying economics, foreign affairs, and a minor in writing, or at least that's what I'm planning for now. The reason I joined the Civic Cornerstone Fellowship, coming from Hawaii, I was born and raised on the island of Oahu. I would say I was pretty detached from national politics, literally, and then also just in the media I consume. I would say most of the news in Hawaii focuses on more local issues, and so when I knew I was coming to UVA, I wanted to get more involved in conversations about politics on a national level. In my experience, I found that being kind of uninformed about what's going on in national politics has made it really hard for me to engage in conversations with other people who are very informed about what's going on. And so joining the Karsh Institute Fellowship gave me a space where people were coming in without preformed expectations. And it was a space where there was a lot of intellectual humility that allowed me to engage in conversations where I was still learning, as we all are. And so over the summer, when I was planning on coming to UVA and I was getting the many, many emails that we all get, one of them that I saw was for the fellowship. And so I signed up. I saw it as an opportunity that was really welcoming because it was open to people of all majors, of all years. And so I very excitedly signed up, and it also gave me the opportunity to kind of integrate into the UVA community, which I was very grateful for. Coming into the fellowship, something that I was really nervous about was being an out-of-state student, especially from Hawaii, where we don't have many students at UVA. I already didn't have many friends, and so I definitely didn't want to make any enemies, and I was very nervous that having conversations about politics, coming into a space that I didn't really know, was going to be something where I was met with a lot of hostility or conflict. But I found that through this fellowship, it was a space for me to engage in honest conversations where everyone was very open and welcoming to different ideas, different perspectives, and also to people like me who just wanted to learn and absorb information like a sponge. And so something that I learned through this fellowship was learning how to steel man other people's arguments. If you've ever heard of like straw manning, it's when you take like the weakest point in someone else's argument and kind of pick on it to get your own point across. And as I developed my own ideas about what I thought about different political issues, the Karsh Institute taught me how to take the strongest points out of other people's arguments and kind of respond to those instead of doing what I am guilty of and what so many of us do, which is take the weakest points in other people's arguments and kind of respond to those. And so I really appreciated that. I think it helped me not only be a better citizen and a better person to engage in difficult conversations with, but also in the classroom. It helped me be a lot better and academically with the arguments I was creating in classes. I think another thing I took out of this fellowship was we went over a lot of mindfulness practices. One of my favorites was when we were partnered with someone in our cohort to have a conversation about a difficult political topic. And we walked side by side for many minutes, just talking about our different viewpoints. And I think that was something that really stuck with me and that I still do when I try to have difficult conversations with people, is just the act of walking side by side and talking instead of facing head to head, which can get really heated at times. I found that is really helpful in having productive dialogue. And so I'm very grateful for this opportunity that the Karsh Institute provided, and I'm really excited to see how it grows. It gives me a lot of hope for our generation and just for UVA, that people are wanting and willing to engage in those kinds of difficult conversations. So I'm really excited to see how the program grows and how other people experience it. I'll turn it over to Ross.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. I'm very excited and grateful to be here. My name is Ross. I'm from Queens, New York. My background is in professional basketball and then finance and accounting prior to business school, and now I'm looking to transition into investment banking. I would divide why I chose to apply to this fellowship into two main reasons. One, I thought I had a lot to give, as well as I thought I had a lot to gain. Starting with what I believe I could give is I have a very diverse background, being a Black man from New York and a first-gen graduate. I thought I could bring a very unique perspective to the conversation. And second, with what I had to gain, I thought I could learn a lot from very intelligent, diverse people, as well as I'm very interested in just talking about politics, learning about different worldviews and economies and things like that. So I knew I had a lot to gain. In the end, it exceeded my expectation. I think it allowed for me to have a lot of personal growth. I remember one specific conversation we had around immigration policy, and my wife comes from an immigration background, so I was very on edge. Like I was uncomfortable in the conversation. I didn't know what to expect. But then from engaging in the dialogue, everyone was really empathetic. Everyone was very respectful. And then I walked away not only learning things, but having a deep sense of respect for everyone I was talking with. And I think that really embodies the nature of this fellowship. It's important to continue to have dialogues and conversations, even if it's with someone you disagree with. I think that's how you can form unity of minds and diverse thoughts and ideas. So I'm very excited to be a part of this fellowship again, and I look forward to learning and growing as an individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross, Ariana, and Stephanie. I'm going to open the floor to questions, but I wanted to ask a question first. First of all, I'm so excited that the program is growing, and I'm so excited that you're taking it to WISE. I think that that is an amazing step, and I'm sure that students there are going to benefit from everything that you all learned as well. But I wanted to ask the two of you kind of a two-part question. First of all, did you find yourself having your viewpoint changed by any of the conversations you had? And then also, I'm interested to know, did you end up making friends or having a long-lasting relationship with somebody who you thought when you first entered the room you might not have had a relationship with?
To answer the first part of your question, definitely. I think coming in, as I said, I wasn't really sure what I thought about certain topics, and then at the beginning, I thought about them one way, and then I found myself unlearning what I thought, learning it a new way, and then going back and forth. And I still try to do that. I think it's really important to just keep keep steel manning yourself, if you will. And as for your second question, yes, I met a lot of really cool students, all older than me, most of them, who are in the graduate schools, who are in undergrad, who gave me a lot of advice, and I am still in touch with some of them today. People who I didn't think originally I would be friends with, but I found that this space provides a lot of open and honest reflection that makes for foundation of friendship.
Yeah, and to echo that, I would say my viewpoints definitely changed, and more so I would say they evolved. So that was definitely something I enjoyed, like just learning different perspectives and just having a different viewpoint overall from hearing from different people. In terms of having long-lasting relationships, there's this one individual named Jack. He's actually an astrologer, which is very interesting, and he was one of the people I would say I learned the most from, and that really helped open my mind. So till this day, we stay in contact, and I'm hoping he's in it this year too, so I look forward to those conversations again.
I think this is amazing, a great program, not only for your own personal growth, but because what you as citizens who have gone through this program will contribute to society and to the larger civic dialogue. What I worry about is that this program is sort of self-selecting, that the people with an interest in having intellectual humility and talking with people and bridging divides are selecting into this program. Do you have any ideas, having gone through it, about how to reach people that may not naturally understand the value of it and naturally be inclined to participate in these types of dialogues?
I think, like you said, the people that this program produces, it creates people who are willing and wanting to have difficult conversations. I think that translates to the classroom too. When people come through this program, they go into the classroom, especially I'm a politics major, so especially in those kinds of classes, a lot of the things we talk about are very sometimes controversial. And so the techniques that we learn through this fellowship translate, we're able to listen more. And I think that also makes people who weren't in the fellowship more inclined to listen and want to kind of model the behavior that the students who come out of this program are modeling, which is to listen closely and to be open to other perspectives. And I think that does bleed over just outside of the fellowship into other opportunities and spaces at UVA, for sure.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a very good point about it being self-selecting. So maybe an idea would be to then instead select certain individuals to be in it. And hear me out, it might not, everyone might not agree with this idea, but if it was in the form of some type of scholarship or something, I think even if somebody has a very opposing view, they're not going to turn that down. So if you really wanted to get people with different views, I would say just give them some money.
Business school.
It's just the truth.
Rachel, go ahead. I'm sorry, Chairwoman. I think it's great. I love this program. I like it so much. My question is to scale. So how do you start with learning a skill set to begin the interaction, and how would we go about scaling this? Could we have second-year student mentors maybe? I mean, what are you thinking about in terms of how you're going to scale the program?
Want me to start, and then maybe I'll invite Professor Wall to weigh in. It's a fantastic question. It's something we spend a lot of time thinking about. At the outset, we wanted to make sure that this wasn't something that was only accessible to a small number of students. And so we accept every student that wants to participate. We made that commitment. We break them into groups of 50 and then into smaller groups of 10. And we have a facilitator. We've worked very closely with Professor Wall to develop the guiding questions that frame each of these sessions. The students moderate a lot of the conversations themselves at the table. They're learning skills, including self-facilitation and moderation in these small groups. We have talked about, and it's on the wish list of all of the ways that we might want to grow this program, what it might look like to train graduates from this program to be peer facilitators if they want to level up and practice those facilitation skills to layer on, and what that might look like. It's definitely something that we're interested in.
So I want to thank you each for being here today, and it's really nice to hear from you. When I conducted conversations with students about viewpoint diversity in the spring, this program consistently came up, and I heard amazing stories and feedback And I just wanted to note for the board that programs like this and others that use a model where you're having student-led and engaged, and also you're partnering with strong pedagogical and research foundations like that Professor Wall and others are bringing to the table. These are the kind of programs that have made the most impact on students' experience, at least in my time here. Another one to mention is Who's Connected, which is a very similar model to this one. So my question is, can you provide for the board, Ari and Ross, a little bit more description of what was your favorite activity that you participated in? Because I heard about one that was really interesting with name tags. I can't remember exactly all of it, but yeah, can you just tell us about each of your favorite activities?
I think one that I really enjoyed, I enjoyed all of them obviously, but the most, towards the end of the program, there was a topic about a current event that was put on the board, and we were asked to anonymously put our thoughts on a note card, which were then taped up to the whiteboard. And we went around the cohort and talked about the different anonymous opinions on that topic. I thought that was really insightful because it was a way for people to say what they were really thinking without being identified if that was important to them. And I found that conversation was probably one of the most insightful in my opinion, and students after that conversation wish that we had done it earlier in the semester. And then I think just having a space with food where you're just having informal dialogue, a lot of the magic, I think, of the program happens in the unstructured parts where we're waiting for the time to start or we're hanging around after to have conversations with other people. So those were probably some of my favorite memories.
I would say there was a dinner, and they handed out cards, and essentially they had different questions on it. And I think it was a good icebreaker, essentially, because in these interactions, sometimes you're a little bit nervous to share your viewpoints, and you don't want to be opposed. So it's having those questions that helped us get there. I think it was very engaging and helpful. So I enjoyed that, and then it made it a little bit easier to interact and engage with everyone in the group.
Thank you. Ross, Ariana, thank you so much. And Professor Wall and Stephanie, thank you so much for your presentations. I just wanted to say, hearkening back a little bit to our discussion in June, which was cut short, I think the university is not insulated from the rest of the country and the rest of the world. We are not immune from the polarization that we have seen elsewhere. I think what we need to focus on is to foster a culture here on grounds of listening to each other, respecting each other, learning to constructively disagree where we do disagree, suspending a little bit our own beliefs so we can really understand other people. And Greg, I'm so glad you mentioned Who's Connected. So this is a wonderful program. Who's Connected now serves about 1,000 students a year. We have scaled it up. And there are many programs on ground. They're all different from each other. And yes, people self-select. We don't like to mandate very much here. People self-select into them, and different people will self-select into different programs. But I think one thread among many current programs, especially for undergraduates, is exactly getting to know people who come from different backgrounds, learning to talk constructively, learning to understand and really listen to each other. And so thank you for all this work. Let me say thank you again to both Rachel and Stephanie for designing this program, for this incredibly difficult implementation of the program. The idea that you take as many students as want to do it is fantastic. And thanks again to Ross and Ariana for visiting us.
Hey, Madam Provost, would you like to introduce our next discussion item, please?
I would. As anyone who's been following news related to higher education this year is aware, the landscape for federal funding is rapidly changing and still remains quite uncertain. Vice President for Research, Lori McMahon, is here. She joined us in June for an overview of research at the university, and she's today going to provide an update, look at some of our research achievements, and also looking ahead. Lori.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the invitation today, and also Provost Gertler. I'm thrilled to be here to share with you some of the data regarding our research funding, I thought first I would reflect a little bit on what we heard this morning. I think all of us appreciated Dr. Rosner's comments about the people. And so I've been here 15 months, so I'm no longer new. I'm not the newest person in the room. I think that's Lois now. And I have to say, the people here are amazing. And before I joined, I heard that over and over, and now I have experienced it. I cannot wait to get to work every day. I think I may have said this last time when I presented in June. It's not work. It's passion, it's excitement, and I'm just so thrilled to be here. And I think those of us who were listening also this morning really enjoyed the story that we heard from Dr. Sturek about his passion and his determination and his perseverance, and I will say just plain stubbornness. Anyone who is in the field of research has to have that mindset. Otherwise, these discoveries don't happen. And so that story that you heard this morning are stories all over grounds. We have numerous highly, highly talented individuals who are making discoveries every day and are bringing their passion and training their students. And it's just been a privilege and an honor for me to interact. And I have to make one other comment. Mr. Gilliam mentioned move-in and how his relationship with Mr. Grant started. And JJ mentioned move-in. And I participated in move-in. And that was on Saturday, and I recruited my husband, and we had a ball. And it was amazing, and I got to interact with students. And a couple of students heard me mention that I oversee research, so they asked me about research. And I'm happy to say that these students have connected with me, and I'm matching them with research labs. So now I have move-in as a strategy and a tactic for how to grow research. Okay, so I'm going to share with you some numbers. And these numbers are from our dashboard, and I hope all of you got this report in your mailbox with a message from me, a note from me, probably last week. So this is right out of that annual report. So this year, at the end of June 30th, when we closed the fiscal year, our really energetic faculty submitted 3,100, a little over 3,100 proposals this year that totaled $2.9 billion. So this speaks to the dedication and the perseverance of our faculty submitting proposals. That was an increase of 5.8% over fiscal year 24. This middle number, $829 million, is our total research expenditures that we reported in January to the National Science Foundation Higher Ed R&D. They ask for this every year in January. This will not be made public until November. The data are collected in January and the reports come out in November, and they are a year behind. So there's nowhere in our finances that you will find this number. So NSF asks us to collate lots of different data together in this report. So you will see this 2024 report come out in November. But this represents an increase of 16% in research expenditures for UVA over 2023. And this last number, $570 million, is the total sponsored research that our faculty were awarded in this past year. That's a 3.8% increase. And just to put a footnote here, these are the total awards we received and does not account for those grants that were canceled. We wanted to report the awards that we competed for and that we won. And if you compare $570 million to $2.9 billion, you can see how competitive it is to get federal awards. This is again from our dashboard. You all have access to this, and I wanted to show this trend, and you can see the number of proposals have increased over the past 3 years. We're down at this time this year compared to last year by $93 million in proposals. The reason for this is that the federal funding agencies are slow to get the RFAs out, or the request for application. So they're slow to get those out, making it us slower to submit our proposals. This is research expenditures. So this is for sponsored programs, sponsored research only, not that big $829 million that we report to the National Science Foundation. Again, we're down for some of the same reasons that I just mentioned. And our awards, and you can see we were trending up with our awards, but again, this year compared to last year, we are down Again, for the same reasons. The notice of awards are being held up, number of proposals submitted are slower. But still, a point of pride for us that our faculty are resilient, they're resistant, they're passionate about their work, and they continue to work hard. When you look at our total sponsored research, and I showed this to you back in June, you can see the blue part of the pie is our federal dollars, and also the brown part of the pie. The 14% of the federal flow through, together with the 62% federal, adds up to 76% of our sponsored research being from federal sources. That flow through means dollars that we receive because our faculty are collaborating outside of the university. 8% is from state government, 5% industry, 7% foundation and nonprofit, and 3% from foreign. So our award cancellations, here's where we are to date. We have received 45 terminations of grants, 12 stop work orders. We have submitted 27 appeals. 9 of those were reinstated. And I'm so happy to share with you, you probably remember hearing from Kevin Pelfrey in June. His grant that funds the Autism Center was reinstated. We submitted an appeal, and we found out a few weeks ago that that was reinstated. We have 6 awards that were denied, and 2 of those 6 are the 2 $20 million each EPA Center Awards. So those appeals were rejected. So to date, we've had $73 million of terminations. That translates into $60 million that we expected to get, but 40 million of that 60 were those EPA awards. So we have weathered this, I think, as best as we could have expected. So there are positive indicators. So we are looking and watching very carefully what's coming out from the House and the Senate and appropriations, and what we think will happen in the fiscal year 26 budget, and the areas of research that the federal government is focusing on. And 4 of those are listed here: defense and national security, artificial intelligence, nuclear fusion and fission, quantum information science, and the last one, biotechnology and applied science. And so the great news here is that we have tremendous strength in these areas that match the priorities of the federal government. So we're poised to be ready to submit large grants in these areas. So I won't go over all of the information. You have these slides, but there's been a lot of activity with our National Security Data and Policy Institute. We've been working carefully with Ravenna Station, starting new collaborations there, and we have a strong partnership with Oak Ridge. Artificial intelligence, you heard a lot about that already from Provost Gertler. We have strong research in that space. Also, nuclear fusion and fission, this is a newer area for us, and there's a lot of investment at the state level and new companies that are landing here in the state of Virginia that we are poised to collaborate and take advantage of. And the last one is biotech. And so we all are excited about the Manning Institute for Biotechnology, the Seville BioHub BioAccelerator, and the recent news of AstraZeneca moving to Virginia. So that presents new opportunities for us. We're working hard on our clinical trials infrastructure too, so we can take advantage of all of those discoveries that occur in the Manning Institute and really across grounds so that we can get those new therapies and strategies, devices to patients. So we're well poised, we're thinking hard, we're watching, and our researchers are ready to accelerate what's happening here on grounds. And the last point, I always have this sense of urgency. That's part of my personality. It's not an emergency, it's urgency. That there's a lot of good work to do. And this last slide says we must have a bias towards action. So we know what we need to do, and we're going to assemble the teams, and we're going to watch for new opportunities, and we're going to take full advantage. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a quick question. Laura, you showed on the one slide that I think you said 76% of our research money comes from the federal government. What are we doing proactively to cultivate and enhance our relationships with key decision makers in the federal government? And do you think that's important to do?
I think it's absolutely important to do, and luckily, we have Julia Smith, who's our Director of Federal Relations. She's here in the room, and also Lewis Burke Associates. That's how we are up to speed, and of course, I try to read everything that comes out, but we are working daily with our elected officials, federally and at the state level as well, so that we know where the priorities are going, so we can be poised. And I think for UVA, we're in a tremendously great position to take advantage, because of our skill set, of this alignment with the federal government. And I know you didn't ask this question, but we are also working really hard with developing stronger relationships with industry and corporate partners. And so we're getting our plan together to be more accessible, which includes making sure that our contract process is nimble and we can get these relationships sealed and those resources coming to us.
May I compliment with that by there's going to be a fundamental change in the landscape of federal funding. The indirect cost rate will never return to what it was before. We have to be, and Lori's very, very, very dialed in on preparing ourselves for the new reality. The most fantastic thing will be when you see that percentage of 76% of our research dollars are federal in origin, when that number drops, not because we have a drop in funding, but because our denominator grows dramatically by the diversification of our funding streams. And Paul is very dialed in on this, and Lori is very hard at work at preparing us for what we need to do going forward to diversify our funding sources for research.
But in the meantime, yeah, but I appreciate that point.
In the meantime, we have to have the dialogue with
multi-prong approach,
and this is being done in a coordinated fashion across multiple universities who are all facing the same cliff.
Also in the biotech area, NIH is focusing now, like Mark Esser is now focusing on oncology, immunology, and neurodegenerative diseases. So if you focus your research on priorities that NIH is going to have, then we're looking at that. So you kind of, go where the puck is going versus trying to develop your own things that you may be interested in. Not that all research isn't good, but we are going to focus on things that NIH will fund.
That's exactly right.
Lori, I think Paul has more updated knowledge than I do, but I've invested in multiple companies trying to commercialize technology from UVA. Traditionally, I hope this has changed, dealing with the contract in terms of commercialization always found the university to be extremely difficult. Have you worked, are you comfortable that we are competitive in terms of what we're expecting in terms of percentage of revenue, patent licensing revenue, and can you update us on that?
Thank you for that question. We are working on that. I think there's room to grow. I think we've done okay, but I think there's tremendous growth opportunity there. And so I look forward to the new Chief Innovation Officer coming in October and working with me with the Licensing and Venture Group so that we can make sure that our faculty have a mindset of taking their discoveries and turning it into a company, and that LVG is ready for that, and that things don't get stuck. And so that's part of my role as Vice President for Research, is to facilitate and to make sure all of our research support offices, from the IRB to the animal model, the IACUC, as it's called, to the contracts office, to grant submission, and to licensing. All of that has to run well and be easy and make it pain-free as much as possible for our faculty. So there's work to be done.
Thank you. It's great to hear that we're, that
Yes.
we recognize it and
Yes.
we're working on it.
Make one other point. we have many, many researchers that are doing incredible research across grounds. We're going to try to make it easily accessible for industry and venture people to actually find it through a website that can be created. Lori and I've talked about that. So if somebody's interested in oncology or they're interested in Parkinson's disease, they'll be able to go on this website and click, and they'll be able to drill down exactly what they're doing research on and where that research is, because we have a ton of research here that's kind of secretive. No, I'm putting that in quotes. And we got to bring that to the forefront so our partners that are going to be funding partners can find it easily and they can access it easily. And so that's one of the goals. So people can actually do that, like even our biotech group wants to know what's going on, and we have to find it. I want to make it easy to find.
And I also think that understanding what's happening is a point of pride for all of us, too. So when we're having casual conversations with family or with neighbors, that we know those stories. And so we need to be better at making it accessible to our investors, but also to one another, also to our students, also to the people that live in Virginia and really across the U.S. and the globe.
Lori, thank you. I want to make a footnote to your remarks. Is one of the recognizable characteristics or branding characteristics of University of Virginia scholarship is the multidisciplinary character of it, when the English department combines with the law school, with engineering and architecture. Do you want to say more about it? Because it's how I've been, and my peers have been successful growing our portfolio.
I couldn't agree with you more. The biggest challenges that we all face are at the interface of disciplines. And a single discipline cannot make the same moves within itself. And so it must be that we have no barriers for our faculty across schools, across disciplines to get together. So we've put some mechanisms in place to help with this. We started this kind of a social hour that we are called Advancing Discovery and Driving Innovation, where we invite researchers from across grounds to these events so they can meet one another. It's really important for our community to see one another and to get out of their offices. And so we are developing more of those kinds of activities to get groups together. And the 3 calves funding mechanism, it was tremendous for that. So we're looking forward to reinitiating that once we understand what the landscape is going to look like financially. But I think there's lots of those things that we have planned to do to achieve those goals that you just mentioned.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Great information. I'm glad to hear that there is some movement in positive directions.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So I guess that concludes.
Yes. Could I just say one thing, though? I just want to commend Vice President McMahon. So she has been here for 15 months. She has moved the needle forward in so many different areas, and it needed a lot of movement when you arrived. And to the comments about the federal funding, she held a research retreat in August up at North Fork. There were over 70 research leaders. This is deans, this is directors of research for schools, this is institute leaders, and it was a full-day retreat, very well attended. We had Louis Burke giving a presentation about the federal government research priorities, and then we did a brainstorming session to figure out how do we fit those priorities into things we already want to do, and can we give each other ideas about how to do that? And that was tremendous. So that's just one example of bringing together the research community in an incredibly strategic way. So I just want to commend you, Lori.
Thank you. Thank you. It's all fun.
Okay, thank you, Lori, and thank you, Madam Provost. I don't have anything to add. I think we've had some great discussions today. I did want to, I guess we don't really have a lot of time, but as we, I know in years past there's been lots of interest in the Academic and Student Life Committee and different issues that people felt like were pressing. So along the way, if there are issues that people want to have discussed, let us know and we'll try to get them on the agenda. And make sure that everybody stays on board. But if there's nothing else to add, then we are only 4 minutes behind. So I will adjourn our meeting.
Okay, Jen, could we leave stuff in?
Where are we getting the bus?
I just wanted to remind everybody who signed up to ride the bus over to
well, you didn't grow up over
the Olympic Sports Center that the bus is going to leave at 4:45 by the chapel.
It was on purpose.
And if you are not planning to ride the bus, but you signed up,